Testing. Are we on? Are we live? 8-Bit Christmas, getting to know the playground musical world.
I think we're good. This
Part
is
2?
Playgrounds, episode 2, 8-Bit Christmas, Fireside Chat.
I'm David. I'm a composer of 8-Bit Christmas with the Playground Ensemble.
And I'm Sarah Whitnah, violinist and board president.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, David.
Where did we
How's it
leave?
going?
Great to see you
Nice
again.
to see you. So last time we kind of talked about how David got into this whole project, and we kind of left off.
A cliffhanger.
We left a cliffhanger.
Yeah, you left off on a cliffhanger.
And so my next question was going to be, how do you create 8-bit? Is it already a sound in the program that you were using, or like, why didn't you do a different electronic?
Right, yeah, what is 8-bit, right? I mean, we think about like these old games, and so they had a really simple sound chip in a Nintendo that could make a couple of like simple waveforms, things that are sort of easy to sort of build electronically. And so they build these like pulse waves and triangle waves, and they have like a noise generator, and they give 8-bit that kind of sound that like we identify with. And so for me, the style of that music was really interesting. And so putting it together, how to make it, right, is what you're asking. And I downloaded this thing from a Japanese chiptune band called YMCK.
Okay.
And because that's a thing that exists, right? There are people who are like really into this, who do chiptune music, and they had this plugin, this audio plugin that you could download for free, and it just had a bunch of samples of the kinds of sounds.
Okay.
And so I've used those on all my 8-bit things since the very beginning. But yeah, these sounds are simple enough that like most softwares that like do synthesizers or can build sounds could make them. Like I use Ableton, I could make these sounds in Ableton too.
Has anyone else done anything like this?
I mean, right, like there's a lot of people who love to make chiptune music, okay? And so, I mean, this band who like made a plugin for people like me who want to make it easier. And so I think there's a lot of both amateur and professional people who just love this kind of music and love to make it. And so Anamanaguchi is like a really cool chiptune band. I mean, if you just search the internet for chiptune music, you'll find all these cool people. And there are concert music people too who like to do this kind of things. Mirane Shim is this flute player who I know who makes really cool music, and she's done recordings with this composer named Matthew Joseph Payne, and they do it like hardcore. Like he has like a Game Boy, an actual Game Boy.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's like reprogrammed to play his music. And they have a piece called Flight of the Bleeper Bird, which is super cool. You should Google it and listen to it. It's so cool. It's so awesome. And so, yeah, there's people who like make this, I did not invent this. This. It's not my thing.
What do you think is the added difficulty when you start involving live instruments?
Oh, man. Yeah. So with the Playground, right, like I've only made these with electronics. And when you have human people, it gets a lot harder, because part of the fun of chiptune is like you can do these crazy digital things that are really easy for a computer to do. Like you can play really fast and you can play these really hard rhythms, and I really love to write those in my chiptune music because it's kind of what the software is really good at, and so I think
it gives it, if you don't do that kind of stuff, it kind of is two-dimensional, so you really have to like build it up.
Yeah, those waveforms don't have the technology from Nintendo like didn't have the ability to make these really like nuanced melodies and make things that sound really beautiful in terms of like the tone of the stuff. It tends to be really grating if you just hear a melody.
Right.
And so doing these really fast things, I think, just makes the music sound better. But people like have to be able to count and have to be able to sort of like line up with one another.
Tell me about it.
And line up with the computer, and so that's kind of a tricky thing to do. And so these are the fastest metronome marks I've ever written in my life, right? I've never written music this fast in my life, other than the music that I've asked you to play.
Yeah, thanks.
So how is it playing with music like this, playing with the chiptunes?
Well, what you were saying is there's really no room for error, metronomically wise or intonation wise, because the tones are just so pure that you really just have to be like on your game. So and the way that we recorded it, we kind of layered our parts on top of each other, so whoever got to record their part first kind of had the easy job, and then as soon as you bring in another instrument, it kind of gets harder to line everything up, and we're all human, so there's kind of 8-bit doesn't have any variation in it, but humans are constantly kind of like I don't like like as
Always
metronomic as we can be,
a
but
little
there's
faster,
always,
a little slower, because you can listen to each other and adjust to one another.
Right. Yeah.
But the computer doesn't want to adjust to you.
Right. Yeah. So it's actually really, really hard. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think that's a really good talk about some of the tech behind these awesome 8-bit Christmas carols.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for more awesome information.
For episode 3.
Episode 3.